Hafaday and welcome to our special presentation of the CNMI's top stories of 2023. I'm Tomas Manglona, and tonight we take a look back at some of the major headlines in the Northern Marianas. Our first story brings us back to January with that controversial casino.
I mean, if it comes, it comes, but I'm not gonna not sleep over it and worry about it when I have work to be done. So.
What do you mean when you say that? When if it comes, it comes?
No, I mean, you're asking me, am I worried? I mean, am I worried now? They raided my house. They took it, whatever thing that they think they needed. It's going on 3 years.
And in what's believed to be the first of many legal actions stemming from the 2019 FBI raids on his home, brother's law firm, and Saipan offices of Imperial Pacific International, it is here, tracing back to an exclusive gaming license. U.S. attorneys for Guam and the CNMI filing a complaint for forfeiture in the U.S. District Court for the NMI after seizing more than $300,000 from two local bank accounts under the name MCS. The move coming after the FBI and IRS criminal investigation found a suspected conspiracy by foreign entities and individuals in the NMI to commit wire fraud and money laundering, the schemes also involving tax evasion. The court filing does not fully name those involved, listing one resident of the NMI as AY, who is the sole owner of MCS. Also involved is the Chinese investment holding company registered in Bermuda with their headquarters in Hong Kong. That same company was constructing a CNMI resort and casino. Two CNMI residents and two local political figures were also involved. The U.S. attorneys say that the schemes began in 2013 when members of the company sponsored foreign trips to Hong Kong, Macau, and Singapore for CNMI lawmakers on a private jet. Not long after, the legislature passed a bill allowing for an exclusive gaming license. However, U.S. attorneys detailed that the company paid MCS and AY thousands per month even before the license was granted. AY continued to be a consultant, but the filing says MCS's actions exceeded the scope of legitimate lobbying or consulting. The company transferred more than $2 million to MCS and to AY through monthly checks, wire transfers, and reimbursements. AY and MCS also allegedly failed to disclose information to the Commonwealth Casino Commission on its exact business with the company in an effort to avoid fees. The third scheme found that the AY and MCS used funds by the company to contribute more than $46,000 to local political campaigns and political parties, including a $10,000 donation to a 2019 inaugural committee. Campaign statements failed to disclose some of those contributions, according to court documents. AY also made payments for overseas trips for CNMI government officials where they golfed, ate, drank, and sang karaoke. As a result, court documents state that the company was given favorable treatment even when it failed to meet its construction deadlines and contractual obligations owed to the Commonwealth. U.S. attorneys say that the company does not have enough money to finish their project with no completion bond in place to mitigate the damage. Tomas Manglona for KUAM News on Saipan. And in our next top story from January, the new year also brought a new administration. I'm reporting live outside of the Multi-Purpose Center where at this hour, Governor Arnold Palacios and Lieutenant Governor David Apatang will be taking their oath of office and delivering their inaugural address. The inauguration marathon began on Saturday with the swearing-in of AG Edward Manabusan and this morning with the CNMI mayors. And just past midnight today, the soft swearing-in was held for Arnold Palacios and David Apatang, where we got a chance to speak with them both. Just your comments as you are now officially in your seat before the symbolic ceremonial swearing in at 10 a.m.
Well, we're officially sworn in, and you know, like the last sentence, so help us God. We ask our Lord for His guidance, and as we lead the Commonwealth. So, yeah, it's surreal, but we will work very hard. Yes.
And Lieutenant Governor Apatang?
Oh yeah, thank you. Good evening. It's midnight already, and we're officially sworn in as governor and lieutenant governor. And I want to thank our voters of the Commonwealth, our people who supported us and gave us this responsibility to move the Commonwealth forward to a better life for everybody. Again, thank you, and tomorrow again, it's a big day for us at Inauguration Day.
The Palacios Apatang administration will be taking office today, and they will be the first independents to hold that seat, and also both the oldest people to hold that office. We'll have more tonight on Primetime. For now, I'm Tomas Manglona, reporting for KUAM News on Saipan. And sticking with political headlines, our next story is one for the history books. It takes us to Rota, where Mayor Aubrey Holkog made history.
It started as a dream when I was a young girl. And to be standing here before you all, to be sworn in and seeing this dream become a reality is one of the greatest accomplishments of my life.
That accomplishment celebrated over the weekend as Holkog is sworn into office as the first woman elected and youngest person to hold the position at the age of 35. Holkog won the 5-way mayoral race in November by 35 votes, launching her into the history books as the former staffer now heads the office. In her speech, Holkog highlighting the need to get creative as government jobs are slashed and tourism struggles to bear fruit.
Our people have had to subsidize their living by returning to the basics of hunting, farming, and fishing for survival.
Her first act in office already disrupting agendas as she appointed her cabinet based on an open application process. Now she faces the challenge of the Commonwealth's fiscal crisis, vowing to work with the legislative delegation to get Rota's piece of the pie. Guam's Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio offering support as she makes that happen.
We have a common bond. We're one people. We have environmental issues that affect both of us. We have issues with regards to global warming and climate change, and of course, we're all going to be impacted by, the expanded military buildup.
Those regional issues top of mind as local government scrambles for resources. Tomas Manglona for KUAM News, Rota. Thank you so much for watching CNMI's Top Stories of 2023, where we take a look back at some of the major headlines. We'll have more of our year in review right after this. Welcome back to the CNMI's Top Stories of 2023. I'm Tomas Manglona with your year in review of the major headlines in the Northern Marianas. Our next story is about the Commonwealth Utilities Corporation and the issues that some government agencies face with paying their bills. A last-ditch effort to keep the power on and water running at the Commonwealth's only hospital. Acting Governor David Apatang mediating a conversation between the Commonwealth Utilities Corporation and Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation late Thursday.
I ask CUC to please just consider holding off on the disconnection today because of our people at the hospital, and that's one of my major concerns, the livelihood of the patient in there in the hospital.
Apatang asking to delay the disconnection until Tuesday, when he hopes to meet again with the legislature and the two agencies. He says the hospital agreed to pay $225,000 a month, and the compromise is to pay an additional $300,000 in the following months. The hospital owes over $50 million to CUC. A new memorandum of understanding is being drafted.
We don't want to see a hospital go dark,
But after the nearly 2-hour meeting, there still seemed to be uncertainty on whether or not the hospital will be cut off. Are you getting disconnected today?
I hope not. I think that there's going to be some work around it, and we'll just wait for the lawyers to come up with an agreement.
She says they're ready to run on generators if they lose power. What's the new deadline?
I'm not sure yet.
So you're not disconnecting today?
I'm not sure yet. We're still kind of deliberating with my council and the board.
Meanwhile, a disconnection notice to the Department of Public Works is delayed due to a dispute filed by the Secretary of Finance. However, Tenorio says CUC has issued an additional disconnection notice to 6 other agencies, including the Legislative Bureau, Rota, Tinian, and Saipan mayors, and the court. Tenorio says they'll have until next week to pay up or dispute the charges. This is a developing story. Tomas Manglona, KUAM News, Saipan. Our next top story from 2023 takes us to the skies as Mariana Southern Airways decided to terminate its service in the Northern Marianas. Mariana Southern Airways is saying adios to the CNMI and Guam just months after taking flight. In a social media post Thursday, the company says its operations will end on April 1st, writing that they found a fantastic group of employees they could count on and appreciate the government agencies who got their planes in the air last August. They added, though our plans have been cut short due to an unexpected turn of events, we hope that all of you know how much we appreciate the opportunity to have served the people of the CNMI and Guam. Those turn of events and apparent course correction by the new administration. Governor Arnold Palacios terminating an $8 million ARP-funded sole source contract inked by former Governor Ralph Torres due to the deficit. Palacios learned of the news when KUAM asked him for comment.
That's unfortunate, to be honest. We wanted them to stay. But the unfortunate situation with the agreement, and if that is the linchpin to their staying, then that's unfortunate because we cannot afford to fork out that much funding out of ARPA.
Residents within the NMI now only have Star Marianas, which started flying in 2009, as an option for inter-island air travel. But not everyone is on board with the governor's decision. The community responding to the news online. Keith Atta writing, "Administration, y'all couldn't have negotiated something. I hope you guys have alternatives." Ramon Santos commenting, "Every time something going good, we chase them away." James Creed sharing that MSA was the most affordable airliner to take to visit his grandpa who has cancer on Guam. But the governor says any deal under his leadership would need to be offered to all competitors.
We have to give equitable treatment to all companies wanting to serve now. Star Marianas has been doing that for a long time without a lot of incentives.
So what do we do now? How do we have reliable inter-island travel?
Well, I saw in an advertisement on social media that Star Marianas is going to pick up and hope that they can create a different model.
Tomas Manglona, KUAM News, Saipan. And our next story takes us to the federal courthouse where the former BMV chief was indicted by a grand jury. Nick and Destiny, the CNMI's BMV chief Juana Leon Guerrero, facing a federal grand jury indictment last week over a conspiracy to unlawfully produce an identification document. She had her day today in federal court before Magistrate Judge Heather Kennedy, where she pleaded not guilty. We attempted to get comment from her and her counsel. Do you have any comment on the ongoing case?
No comment at this time. Thank you.
All right. And Mr. Torres, are you going to remain her counsel? I know there's a status conference set for April 13th.
That will remain to be seen. We'll see. Thank you.
Thanks. Part of her conditions for release proposed by the U.S. attorneys was to give up her passport, which she did agree to surrender. We also learned that she will be having a status conference on April 13 to deal with that matter regarding her representation in this federal case. We also know that the judge set the jury trial for May 23rd. Now, her co-defendant in the case, Yongdae Lee, will be making an initial appearance on March 27th. Tomas Manglona, KUAM News, Saipan. Another major top story, Interior Secretary Deb Haaland making a visit to Saipan to meet with the current administration.
The United States is a Pacific country, and so we're honored to be a partner in the success that these islands seek to enjoy.
Interior Secretary Deb Haaland is in Saipan for 2 days and met with CNMI Governor Arnold Palacios and Lieutenant Governor David Apatang Friday morning. She was joined by Assistant Secretary of the Interior Carmen Cantor and Asian American and NHPI Senior Liaison Erica Moritsugu from the White House.
I know they're very busy, and there are going to be some salient discussions that we will have, and we welcome the opportunity, and we are very honored with your visit and your presence.
The secretary was not available for questions but delivered brief remarks at the governor's office ahead of meetings and site visits to interior-funded projects on Saipan. Her visit comes at a time when the CNMI is seeking federal assistance amid austerity measures.
We still need a lot of assistance, and I'm very happy, and our people appreciate that, they make the time to come and see us here.
The Interior Secretary's visit also coincides with the White House's Investing in America tour, highlighting investments in infrastructure across 3 weeks in 33 states and territories.
We're also very proud of the President's Investing in America agenda that is also ensuring that a lot of projects and work can move forward to benefit the people here.
And we'll have more from CNMI's top stories of 2023, our year in review, right after this break. Welcome back to our special presentation of the CNMI's top stories of 2023, where we take a look at the major headlines in the Northern Marianas. Our next story takes us to the government, where guns were stolen from our own government offices. The Office of the Public Auditor conducting an inventory into government-issued firearms, revealing that 1 pistol and 8 rifles were stolen from the Department of Lands and Natural Resources Enforcement Division.
I was made aware that 9 firearms were missing. When they've been missing, I don't know. That's part of the reason why I immediately reported it to Department of Public Safety, and they began their investigation.
That investigation started in May after the Office of the Public Auditor requested for an inventory of government-issued firearms. Department of Public Safety Public Information Officer Sergeant Fred Sato told KUAM that police received a call from DLNR on May 5th about 1 pistol and 8 rifles missing.
We have an enforcement section under Fish and Wildlife, and then we have the wildlife section that used to conduct animal damage controls in the Northern Islands, and so they had high-power rifles, AR-15s, Mini-14s, types of ammunition and firearms.
CNMI Police Chief Clement Bermudez told KUAM the investigation is ongoing. We asked what the protocol is for issuing guns.
It's the protocol. I haven't seen what the standard operating procedure is for Fish and Wildlife in handling these things. As you can imagine, we're still brand new in the role, and there's a diverse array of issues that we're dealing with, and this is one of them. But I'm waiting for the end of this investigation to come up with a good plan moving forward.
He says local police are also working with the public auditor and attorney general in the investigation. KUAM has reached out to the auditor for comment on the matter and if any other government guns are missing.
I don't want to even imagine what that might look like if something bad happened to one of those missing firearms and a member of our community. So that's why we immediately notified DPS and started figuring out where and what happened.
Tomas Manglona, KUAM News, Saipan. Another major headline from 2023, outgoing Commissioner of Education Dr. Alfred Atta facing some serious allegations which he denies.
I can confirm that my office, on behalf of Dr. Bobby Cruz, did file a grievance against the Commissioner of Education, Alfred Atta, in November 2022. That grievance was based on allegations of sexual harassment. It is still pending in front of the Board of Education, and it has not been resolved.
KUAM learned of those grievances days after the news of Commissioner of Education Dr. Alfred Atta's resignation due to health reasons last week. Dr. Bobby Cruz, a longtime educator whom Hudson represents, is listed on the school system's website as the State Education Agency Project Co-Director under the Office of Student Support Services.
And so the grievance was filed directly with the board. They had then filed an administrative hearing officer who was intended to administer the grievance. And we had a administrative hearing set on the grievance for July 18, 2023. And so we had prepared for that hearing essentially as if it were a trial. We had interviewed and had set to testify several witnesses. Several of those witnesses would have testified as to sexual harassment inflicted on them by Dr. Otta while they were employees at PSS. And so we were looking forward to that hearing and having those witnesses as well as Dr. Cruz testify. About a week before the hearing was supposed to take place, Dr. Otta, through his attorney, filed a motion basically to dismiss himself from the lawsuit, disagreeing with the procedures. And so the administrative hearing officer basically agreed that the procedure was that she should not oversee the case and that it should go back in front of the board. And so that was back in July. And since then, there's nothing on the calendar to administer the grievance.
She says there are at least 5 other witnesses who are willing to share their stories in a public hearing about what happened to them at on and off-campus PSS events dating back to 2003.
We don't want to force people to come to testify. We want them to be comfortable and be okay with being able to tell their stories. And so we did not name them. Some also feared retaliation by PSS. And so we wanted to respect their decisions.
Attorney Hudson communicated with the board this month, asking them to issue a decision on whether or not they've exhausted administrative remedies, which would then allow the case to be brought to court. She says there are no explicit grievance proceedings in regulations for charges against the Commissioner of Education. Meanwhile, she says Ada has not been placed on administrative leave or removed by the board. They also have a pending charge with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. KUAM News went to the commissioner's office Monday afternoon and spoke with him in person just before he was about to begin a meeting. He told KUAM he was busy, and we informed him that we're seeking his comment on an urgent matter, which we emailed him about earlier. Later, a PSS employee informed us that the commissioner would be calling us later. In a separate email, CNMI Board of Education Legal Counsel Tiberius Makanu told us, quote, "The BOE hired an outside, seasoned, and knowledgeable hearing officer with a background in labor law to adjudicate a grievance that was filed against Dr. Ada. The persons involved in the grievance are free to talk about the particulars if they so choose, but PSS is bound by confidentiality, which it takes seriously. The status of the grievance will be determined by the same hearing officer, and they will have discretion as to what occurs to it in light of the COE's resignation." On Friday, at an emergency board meeting where Ada's resignation, which takes effect on September 1st, was accepted, we asked the board chair this. Health is his primary reason that he cited for resigning?
Yes.
Are you aware of any other issues that might have led to his resignation?
So far, it's written in his resignation letter, so well, if there's any other thing that comes up, then we'll get to the bottom of it.
Tomas Manglona, KUAM News, Saipan. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Don't go away. We'll have our final top stories of 2023 from the CNMI right after this. Welcome back to our special presentation of the CNMI's top stories of 2023, our review of the major headlines of the past year. Our next story brings us to the Department of Corrections, where the U.S. Civil Rights Commission investigates its conditions. The U.S. Commission on Civil Rights Northern Marianas Advisory Committee has been meeting for months to decide its core focus for investigation.
We then voted to investigate the topic of access to adequate health care for incarcerated individuals within the Northern Mariana Islands justice system.
The committee's first in-person briefing on Friday featured panels of attorneys, healthcare providers, and government officials for a full day of testimony. The first panel included impacted individuals like Godfrey Mendiola, who sued the Department of Corrections for inadequate medical care and inhumane prison conditions starting in 2018.
I was put in a very dirty unsanitary condition place. No running water in the cell. I contracted bacteria that I couldn't even walk. It took DOC 8 months to finally get my medication after the doctor ordered 6 months earlier. So somehow the blaming game started with DOC medical staff.
Chief of Parole Nick Rages hesitated to confirm the allegations but recognized the circumstances at the prison after working in the field for over 2 decades.
I don't want to say he's right, but a lot of things, when I started, I see those things happening in corrections. You send in a medical slip, they'll dump it in the trash. It doesn't go forward. That's how poor it is.
Rages brought Alfred Aldan to the panel, who he says has been on parole for 17 years.
For my experiences, I too, would wait probably a week just to get a checkup for my tooth, and they will not fix my teeth, they will just extract, because the rule is there's no money. There's always no money for us, the individuals. We would see the doctor depending if the doctor is in or not. Sometimes the doctor will come in once a week. We had nurses, but the nurses were gone, not for long, maybe 2 or 3 months, and then they're gone because they can't afford it. It's always about money.
Corrections Commissioner Anthony Torres, who took office in March, says the department under his leadership will take responsibility and create programs aimed at rehabilitation and reintegration.
Currently, the medical unit utilizes a triage form through which all detainees and inmates, including juveniles, females, and federal ICE detainees, can report their health concerns. All inmates and detainees are given instructions regarding requesting care by the classification unit, and the juvenile officers educate the juveniles. An illness, injury, symptom, or condition of a serious nature receive immediate, expedited attention with referral to the CHCC emergency room. Other non-urgent health problems are addressed via the triage form, generally within 15 minutes of being received at the medical unit and acted upon with regard to the nature of the content.
DOC currently has 1 medical doctor who is at the prison for 40 hours a week and 3 trained officers in the medical unit. They also have 3 mental health counselors. While the legislature has provided funding for 3 nurses, recruitment is an issue. In a separate panel, healthcare officials responded to the committee's question of what support they need to improve the system.
We first need to assess the need for the incarcerated, because there's such a wide range of spectrum of care that we're looking at. And if we know where the greatest need is, then I think that's where we can focus our workforce development and just kind of answer that need. But beforehand, it's really difficult to do it with a blind eye or a blind shot. But for now, we've just been working with what's most medically necessary.
The committee will put together a report based on those testimonies, which they will forward to the U.S. Commission. Tomas Manglona, KUAM News, Saipan. Thank you so much for joining us for this special presentation of our top stories of 2023 from the NMI. That's our show. We look forward to our coverage in the new year.